Okay, we are live. Okay, I'm going to give people a minute or two to gather up. We got 3 people. I'm not expecting a big turnout because this is relatively low stakes, but I thought I'd go ahead and take some time to discuss it anyway. Marshall, Ryguy, Chrissy, welcome. All right. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and get underway here. I'm going to try to keep this stream to maybe half an hour because this is not a very important thing to think about. The other things that I've talked about were crucial. We need to address center. We need to address left guard. We need to address cornerback. This is kind of a luxury. And I think a lot of people would be okay if we just kind of stood pat. But that being said, there is some stuff talking about, yeah, I don't like the idea of moving Jamal to linebacker chaotic. I don't think it's that simple. Jamal works best when he plays positionless anyway, so just let him continue to be positionless. Yeah. So anyway, linebacker on the Seahawks is pretty locked up for the now because I don't think we're going to be able to trade Bobby, and I don't think we're going to bring back KJ. Chrissy, I want to draft the Tyson Campbell out of Georgia in the 4th or 5th round. That's my final thought on that. But anyway, okay, linebacker. So middle linebacker is pretty much sewn up. Bobby is still probably going to start because I don't think we're going to get rid of him this offseason. I would prefer to, but I don't think we will. Ben Burkervin is probably going to be the backup in the middle. So that's pretty solid. The question is at outside linebacker because I do think KJ Wright's probably gone. I feel like if we were going, Master Chief, I haven't tested it yet. I haven't tested it because I didn't have a GPU, and that motherboard does not work at all unless you have a GPU in. You have to have a graphics card. There are no integrated graphics. So I had to pull my graphics card out of my old computer, so I have to hook it up and run with it. Yeah, William Jackson's a good pick too, Chrissy. I talked about that a lot in the stream. But anyway, at outside linebacker right now, if KJ Wright leaves, and he's currently a free agent, so he projects to leave, I feel like if we were going to keep KJ, we would have extended him by now, just kind of how I'm reading things. I definitely don't want to re-sign KJ no matter what. Honestly, at this point, even if he was willing to play for the veteran minimum, we need to move on. We need to start seeing if some of this young talent can help us going forward. And we can't do that if KJ is going to be taking up so many snaps. Last year, he played almost 1,000 snaps. It's really hard to tell if we have good stuff going on behind him, given the fact that he's taking up all those snaps. So as of right now, the starting outside linebacker primarily would be Jordan Brooks, which is totally fine. He was a first-round pick. It's time to find out if he's any good. It's time to find out if he can play football. So I got no problem with that. I think that I think that Jordan Brooks played pretty well last year, so I'm good with that. And even if he's going to be bad, we need to find out, and we're not going to find out if he doesn't play. So the real question is, sometimes you are going to play your base defense. Sometimes you are going to play 2 outside linebackers. Right now, the outside linebacker who would be behind Brooks and be that 3rd linebacker in base defense is Cody Barton. So let's start by asking the question of, can we promote from within to address this need? If Cody Barton is our third linebacker, our starting linebacker, I guess you would call him what, the will linebacker, the linebacker who's on the field on base defense downs. How would you guys feel about that? Like, you just promote him and make him a guy who plays, a little less than half of the snaps in all likelihood. Yay or nay? What do you guys think? So if you're in chat, just go ahead and let me know if you would like that or not, how you feel about making Cody Barton the next man up. Not a Barton fan outside of special teams. Hell no. Okay, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of enthusiasm for Barton. I really liked Barton from the little that we saw his rookie year. And last year I was less impressed. But that being said, I don't think it would be a bad idea to throw him in the ocean and see what happens in 2021. One way or the other, he's going to play enough to where you're going to find out. If he's no good, then you're going to find out. And if he is good, then he's going to have the opportunity to prove it. So I can say for my part that I'm not really optimistic about Cody, but I wouldn't say that it would be a terrible idea to say that he should be the third linebacker. Like I said, third linebacker is not that important. So personally, I would be okay with that, but I'm also not big on Cody at this point. Other than that, there's really nothing else on this roster that could step up into that role. There is maybe Bruce Burke-Irvin could play outside, but that's not really what he's intended to do. So, yeah, that's a hole. And if you don't trust Barton, it's a hole of some significance. So, before we dive into outside free agents we can go get, because there are a few, and we'll talk about them, the logical way to fill that need would be re-sign Bruce Irvin. And re-signing Bruce Irvin would probably be very cheap. We are talking like 1 year, $1.5 million. If we brought back Bruce Irvin to be the third linebacker in our defense for 1 year, $1.5 million, how would you guys feel about that? Yay or nay? Go ahead and tell me in the chat how you feel. Okay, we got some yays. We got some nays in chat, it looks like, on Bruce Irvin. I will say this. I don't think there's any reason to not bring back Irvin unless you get somebody who's a rookie who you really like. Because Bruce is going to be very cheap. Hey, Nicholas. Irvin's going to be cheap. And worst case scenario, he's a backup linebacker. I mean, you're not going to be paying him that much. Yeah, chaotic. I think Bruce played okay last year for the little that we got out of him, which doesn't really mean anything. But, you can sign him for that much money and then just have him be the straight up backup and special teamer. At that price, there's nothing wrong with that. And I would say that I would be okay with that. But those are basically the easy options to fill this need. We can either promote Cody Barton or retain Bruce Irvin. LXRD, I talked about that a little bit in my last stream 2 days ago. I don't like that because I think he's going to be a nickel corner, and we don't need nickel corners on this defense right now. We have good nickels. Amadi, Blair, Reed can play nickel. Diggs can play nickel. We have good nickel corners on this team. I want outside corners. Okay. So now let's swing into the guys we can get in free agency. And Keith Taylor's a little more interesting, Chrissy. Yeah. Okay. Keeping in mind that we do not want a stud. That's going to be too much money for somebody who doesn't play enough. if anything, signing a stud at this position would be bad for the team because we would be obligated to play them more than we should. A third linebacker should get on the field maybe 40 to 50% of the snaps in the modern NFL, maybe sometimes less. You can make a pretty good argument. But most of the time, you're going to be running two linebackers. So if we go to free agency to fill this need, we want to be very cheap. So in my video earlier today, I posted 3 quality options. The first, the newcomer, would be Damian Wilson, a linebacker. He was on the Cowboys for 4 years, and he's been on the Chiefs the last 2 years. So he's actually played in the last 2 Super Bowls. Not expecting anybody to know that much about this guy because he's he's started almost every game over the last 2 years, and actually he's played in pretty much every game in his career. But in 2019, he had 81 tackles, a sack and a half. Seems to be pretty good in run defense, actually, which is valuable if you're going to be only playing in base defense because you're going to be playing against a lot of run-heavy fronts. His Pro Football Focus grade last year was 52, which is why he's probably just going to get a replacement-level contract. The year before, it was 55. So this is a replacement-level player, but he was the first guy that stood out to me as somebody we could go get and say, hey, you're the third linebacker. Give us everything you got for the, maybe 25 to 30 snaps a game you're going to play. So that would be my first choice. My second choice and third choice are guys we've had before. And these guys would probably be just as good as anybody else, but we have some familiarity with them. They are Malcolm Smith, the Super Bowl MVP, and Kevin Pierre-Louis. Both these guys are free agents. Both these guys should be pretty cheap. I don't think either of those guys have done anything to earn a big paycheck. So, yeah. Malcolm Smith actually played pretty well last year for the Browns. I was surprised. I looked it up, and he played pretty well for them. I actually think his PFF grade was really good. I know I went over it in the video today, but last year for Cleveland, his PFF grade was 71. So he had maybe the best year of his career. So if you got him to be the third linebacker, I think that's pretty appealing. He's pretty good in coverage. So he can kind of be like a Cody Barton, except actually good. And Kevin Pierre-Louis we had for a couple years as a linebacker, mostly special teams. This time we could get him to be a pseudo starter. Yeah, those are the guys that stood out to me. There are other guys that would be fine. Like Chaotic Cone just said Frankie Luvu from the Jets. I don't know that name off the top of my head, but he's probably a guy who would be perfectly fine in this role. If you take a look at what he's done so far in his career, which I am right now, he's only started a few games. His stats are not big, but he's young, so there is upside here. I'm reasonably interested. He was a Cougar, actually. I think he was an UDFA. It doesn't look like he was drafted. And yeah, getting a player like this will mostly be fine. As long as they're not completely incompetent, you're going to be fine with it. Power, I have to move my graphics card. I took my graphics card out of my old computer. I need to put it in the new one. That's really all that needs to be done at this point, and then I can test it. But I haven't done it yet. I was kind of worn out today. Yeah, I'll let you guys know exactly how that's going when it happens. But yeah, unfortunately, that motherboard does not have integrated graphics at all. So you cannot run it unless it has a graphics card. It won't run at all. Or you won't be able to do anything. So I have to have a graphics card or else it's just, it doesn't do anything. Okay, so yeah, Frankie Luvu, that's a reasonable choice. He's young. I don't know how much upside he has because he was undrafted, but it's always possible. And he's actually pretty productive as a pass rusher so far. He hasn't played a lot, but he has 6 career sacks and 30 career pressures in 3 years. Hey, Michael. How's it going? So, yeah, those are the options that stuck out to me if we're going to go to free agency to fill this need. Real quick, Marcus Golden would be a defensive end in our defense in power, not a linebacker, I don't think. Marcus Golden to me would be a end in RD. I'm pretty good, Michael, yeah. This is going to be a shorter stream, by the way. So I'm going to shout out some guys from the 2021 draft that stood out to me, and we're going to talk about these guys for a minute. But I did some light research into the I use a lot of different stuff. I like the Draft Network a lot. The Draft Network is really good, but there are other ones that are good too. So the first linebacker in the draft that stood out to me was Jamin Davis from Kentucky. He's pretty big. He's 6'4", which is one thing that kind of stands out to me. He projects as a will linebacker at the NFL level. Looks like he can start one day, if not immediately. He's long and rangy. He actually, reading about him, he made me think a little bit of KJ Wright. He's going to fit well in a 4-3 defense. Power. Isn't Kendricks' career over? Raekwon McMillan. Let me look that up. Hold on. Stats. Who cares? What? Oh, I don't respect. Doesn't look like he's a free agent. I don't think he is. No, wait. I guess he is. Okay. Raekwon McMillan from Las Vegas, a free agent. Yeah, okay. His last contract he signed was pretty sizable, though, so he might not be cheap enough for us here. Okay, so yeah, Jamin Davis was the first guy that stood out to me. You could get him in maybe the 4th. Garrett Wallow, you could get in the 5th. He's a TCU linebacker, 230 pounds. Former safety. So apparently he's a very good blitzer and very good in coverage, which I like because that means he's going to be effective in pass defense. And when you have a linebacker who is effective in pass defense, I think that fits in well with the modern NFL. So Garrett Wallow was the second guy that jumped out to me as like, if we could get this guy in the 5th round, I think that's pretty good. And the last name I saw that caught my attention was a Monty Rice from Georgia. I like a lot of Georgia defenders this year, actually. I liked almost all their cornerbacks, and now I'm liking one of their linebackers. But Monty Rice looks like he's probably going to be more of an inside linebacker, but I think he can fit outside as well. He's pretty good against the run, and there is something to be said for that as well when you're talking about a third linebacker because they only get on the field when you have your base defense out there. But yeah, Monty Rice was the next name that stood out to me a little bit. And that's really all the legwork I put into looking for a third linebacker. I know this is not the most important thing in the world. Like I said, your third linebacker should only be getting on the field about 45% of the time. But 45% of the time is 25 to 30 snaps a game. So we should take this seriously. And we need to consider exactly what it is we're looking for. And we need to consider what kind of player we want and how. The options as I see it. Ooh, did my stream just die? If my stream just, okay, is the stream good? Can you guys still hear me? It gave me a pop-up like the stream was dying. I don't know if it did or not. If the stream's fine, just tell me in chat. Justin Hilliard out of OSU. Okay, looks like he's going to be undrafted or a 7th round pick, according to the Draft Network. Now they could be off. Sam linebacker, core special teamer. Potential Sam linebacker. That's pretty solid. And if you could get him in UDFA, that's good. All right, cool. So, yeah. But to recap, the options, KJ Britt out of Auburn, I see him here as well. He's projected to go in the 7th round or undrafted. They think that he's probably just a special teamer, but they do think he fits in a 4-3 defense, which I like. We don't have a lot of assets this year, so it would definitely be a big deal if this team could deal with this need in undrafted free agency. We don't need to spend draft picks on this if possible. We need to use all our draft picks on stuff that actually matters. But using a 7th round pick on a guy who ends up being your starting number 3 linebacker behind Bobby and Brooks would be awesome. And hopefully that happens. So, like I said, the options as I see it are you can promote Barton, you can bring back Bruce Irvin, you can go get a free agent. I listed 3 good options: Damian Wilson, Malcolm Smith, Kevin Pierre-Louis. One guy in chat shouted out Frankie Luvu from the Jets. Or you can spend a low to mid draft pick on one. I gave a couple that I liked. 4th, 5th round picks: Jamin Davis, Garrett Wallow, and Monty Rice. A couple people in chat are shouting out guys who might go in the 7th or not at all, like Justin Hilliard and KJ Britt, which is great news to me, because if we can spend a low pick or no pick at all on getting one of these guys. Oh, sorry about that, Chrissy. Sorry about that. Yeah, if we can use if we can get an undrafted rookie in here and he can be our 3rd linebacker, that's obviously incredible. And given the limited resources we have to work with this offseason, we will probably need to hit with one of our UDFAs. We will probably need to get something out of one of those guys because we don't have enough picks and we don't have a lot of money, although I think we're going to be able to create money. So, yeah, I'm going to stream for another 8 minutes. And if anybody has any ideas for what we can do at linebacker, go ahead and shout it out. Anything that you like, just let me know and maybe we can talk about it. But that's really all the research I've done for this because, again, this is not the most pressing need. Whatever. Hi, William Harding. I think Barton, Brooks, Wagner is what the Seahawks should just do. Yeah, big dog. I think, yeah, William Harding. Malcolm Smith was a name I brought up. Yeah, exactly, Chrissy. It's easy to create cap space. Yeah, just so I can say what I would like to do, I think we should just promote Barton. And I think we should re-sign Irvin as a backup. Cody Barton's going to be on the team no matter what, and he was a 3rd round pick. So you need to find out if he's good. You need to put him on the field and let him prove if he's any good or not. You can't, a 4th round pick or a 3rd round pick is not nothing. You can't spend a 3rd round pick on a linebacker and then just let him fade away without ever putting him on the field. You need to let him out there to sink or swim. This would be the year I would tell Barton, okay, we're going to give you maybe 500 snaps over the course of the year. You have 500 snaps to prove you belong in the NFL. If things aren't working out, we're going to re-sign Bruce Irvin for about $1.5 million, and we're going to have him out there instead. Yeah, Chrissy, that's kind of what I'm expecting. Matt, I really don't think we're going to re-sign KJ Wright. I don't want to. I'll say that much. I don't think we will either. Yeah. So that's what I would do. I would promote Barton to starting Sam. I would sign Bruce Irvin to be the backup Sam. And that will give you a little bit of flexibility. And then I would maybe pick up a dude in undrafted rookie free agency. And if that's not good enough, then at least we'll know, right? If Cody Barton isn't any good, then we'll find out. And we'll be able to move on in 2022. Barton was so bad in that Vikings game. Yes, he was. I agree. But I don't think you can spend a 3rd round pick on a linebacker and give up on him because of 1 or 2 bad games. I think that's a bad way of doing business. The only way, and I will admit there's no way for me to know this, if he looks like garbage in practice and they're just like, oh, this guy's no good, then that might be a little different. I will grant a little bit of that, but I don't think you can spend that draft capital on a linebacker and then never even play him. Bud is cool. I'm really not thinking about them that much at the moment. We'll see where things go. I'm not stressed about it right now. We're 10 days away from free agency. That's what I'm thinking about. Yeah. It's nothing against KJ. It's just we need to do we need to do what's best for the team. And I don't think that bringing back KJ is good for the team because it's just going to reduce Jordan Brooks's playing time. It's going to crush Barton's playing time to basically nil, and we're never going to find out if he's good. We're just going to draft a linebacker in the 3rd round and then basically never play him. That I don't like that. I don't like that. So yeah, that's what I would do. Promote Barton, re-sign Bruce Irvin for $1.5 million, and put it together from there. And maybe pick up a UDFA. I would not draft a linebacker this time around unless it's like the 7th round. I don't think it's a high enough priority for us to address. And this offseason is all about resource management. We don't have a ton to work with, and we have to make what we have count. Yeah, Chrissy, exactly. I mean, one way or the other, Brooks is going to play this year. The question is he going to play 90% or is he going to play 50%? Ben Burke-Kirven, yeah, William Harding. I think Ben Burke-Kirven is more of an inside linebacker than an outside linebacker. What about bringing Kendricks back to be a backup? I mean, you know what I think about Kendricks. I think he sucks. If you want to give him the veteran minimum, I guess it doesn't really matter, but I don't like Kendricks. I don't think he's good, and Kendricks has no upside. You will never bring in Kendricks and have him just turn into an all-pro. You get somebody that's young and an unknown, maybe you can be pleasantly surprised. Kendricks is not a pleasant surprise anymore. Ben Burke-Kirven is mainly a special teamer. Yeah, that's probably the case. I feel like if he has a future in the NFL as a position player, it'll be at middle linebacker. But giving him a shot if Barton isn't working out is not a bad idea at all. So I guess that's all that really needs to be said about this particular position. We got a couple of shout outs for some interesting ideas in the chat, which I always appreciate. But at the moment, my strategy would be promote Barton, re-sign Bruce Irvin to be a backup, go from there. Maybe use a 7th round pick or UDFA to bring in another dude because there's a couple guys who are a little interesting, but yeah, this is not an area we need to be expending resources on right now. We already expended enough resources on the linebacker position. All right, so we got, I'm going to kill the stream in like 90 seconds here. Austin Calitro. Yeah, that's actually, I saw that name, Michael. That's not a terrible idea. He is the definition of replacement level. I think if we're going to go that route, we're probably going to do something like, I would rather do Malcolm Smith than Austin Calitro, but it's a similar idea. Yes, Chrissy. We have a 7th this year, big dog. Yes, Chrissy, backup safeties is it. I'm going to post that video in 2 days and then do the stream either that day or the next day. Yeah, Sean Lee needs to retire, man. So yeah. The problem is my room is not yet ready, and I don't think it's all that close to being ready. Things are not really working in my favor. So odds are the video that I post in 2 days and the stream that I do in either 2 or 3 days is the last content you'll get from me other than maybe a random stream here or there for maybe a week. Oh, yeah, David, I heard about that. Yeah, I heard about that. I mean, Honestly, he should be dominant in that league. He should be head and shoulders above everyone else in FCF. Where I've been sleeping in the storage room. I've been sleeping right here, actually. This is basically the storage room. And I moved my bed in here, and I've just been sleeping here. Yeah, no problem, Aiden. This is the deadest part of the season. This off-season portion is dead. There's nothing going on right now. So, yeah, that's no problem, Aiden. Chrissy, yeah, that's going to be a problem. I'm going to try to figure that out, but yeah, I don't really have any means by which to record those videos that make them look any good. I'll figure something out. I'm not happy with the way this is going. I thought the room would be close to done by now, but they're not even done with the ceiling yet. It needs to start raining a lot more. Bud is cool. It's not the worst idea I've ever heard, but I think we can do better. I'd like to do better. But yeah, probably I'm going to try to cram all the final thoughts into one video right before free agency opens. And then we're just going to have to go with that. And hopefully by then I'll be able to make a real video. All right. Y2K, they're doing everything to my room. Why would you want to go to the Patriots? They have probably the worst QB in the league. Have you heard anything on Dunlap? I've heard we're going to cut him and then re-sign him or extend him, which is almost the same thing. So yeah, that's what I know. I mean, the fact that Ben Roethlisberger just took a giant pay cut when he didn't have to tells you that it does happen sometimes. Sometimes the players are just like, please don't do this to me. Just don't cut me. Okay. I'm out of here. Thank you for coming out. Shorter stream, but less interesting topic. The third linebacker spot is not that important in the modern NFL, but I would deal with it in-house. Promote Cody Barton, keep Bruce Irvin, and go from there. Maybe pick up somebody cheap in the draft. And that's about it. So I'm going to get out of here. Peace out, go Hawks. There will be another video in 2 days, and then there will be a stream either that night or the next day. And at that point, it could be a while before I get any real content up. So hopefully things work out, but I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks.